Hey everyone, it's Grandmaster Finegold here with Kid Chess. Now, normally when I show my own games, I win, yay! But sometimes you lose, and you have to learn how to lose with the win. So that's, I sometimes have to show my losses. Now, this game, I did something you're not supposed to do, and it wasn't bad until it was really bad. This was played in the New York Open, I believe in 1993. So it was a long time ago, before you were born. And it was against the Grandmaster Igor Novikov. I wasn't a Grandmaster yet. I was an international master, so one step below Grandmaster. So what happened was we played a Queens Gambit, D4, D5, C4. That's the Queens Gambit. And if you take the pawn, that's the Queen's Gambit accepted. You're accepting the pawn. Take it. If you don't want to take the pawn, the two most common moves are to protect your pawn. You could play E6, the Queen's Gambit declined, as opposed to accepted. Or you can play C6, which is the Slav defense. Now, there's another move that's not very common that I like to play, because I like to play unusual variations that I've studied a lot and my opponent doesn't know as well. And I played what's called the Chigorin defense with knight c6. And I still play that today. And that's named after the famous Russian grandmaster from over 100 years ago, in fact, over 120 years ago, Mikhail Chigorin. He invented knight c6. He played chess mainly between like 1880 and 1910, like somewhere in there. Okay, and the point of knight c6 is to attack. Get your pieces out, put some pressure on d4. And, if they take your pawn, you take with a queen. Then you attack this pawn and you keep attacking. Okay, my opponent played knight f3, developing his knight. And I played bishop g4, developing my bishop, and also putting pressure on his knight. So I still, I got like my knight on d4. Maybe my queen can go to d4. His knight that's protecting d4, maybe I could take that. So I'm still putting pressure on d4. Now here my opponent played a move that I'd never faced before, and it was a favorite of the world champion Alexander Alekhine, who was world champion from 1927, and then I think he died in like 1942, 1943, and then there was no world champion. He died when he was world champion, and he invented the move Queen A4, and the point of Queen A4 is to pin the black knight. Now the black knight can't move, because black would be in check. And if it was white's turn to move, white would definitely play knight e5, and that attacks the bishop, and the knight's pinned, and it's terrible for black. So I got rid of that knight. Bishop takes knight, and he took back, obviously. And now he could take back with the g-pawn or with the e-pawn. They're both good. Took with the g-pawn. Okay, now I played a very aggressive move instead of a very solid move. I could have played e6, solid. But instead, I wanted more. So I played d takes c4, taking a pawn, and also I want to take this pawn, take all of his pawns. He didn't want me taking this pawn, so he played e3, defending his pawn, and now he's got two ways to get his pawn back when it's his turn. So I can't really save that pawn. But once again, I played super aggressively, e5, attacking his pawn again. Lots of my guys are attacking his pawn, so he took. And normally I would take back, but I can't. I can try to. See what happens? It says, no, you can't do that. And that's because my knight is pinned, which I told you earlier, my knight can't move. So this is a very strange position. I'm taking his pawns, and he's not recapturing. He's taking my pawns, and I'm not recapturing. And none of us have moved our pieces out too much yet. But the computer, the chess engine, says I have a good position because I played the move Queen D5. That attacks two of his pawns, and also I can castle now. And he can't castle. And I was a pawn up. Now the material's equal. We both have 7 pawns. Now here, I was wondering during the game, should he take with the queen or should he take with the bishop? And he was a grandmaster and I wasn't. And he knew it was more important to develop your pieces. Get your bishops and knights out in castle. And obviously he hasn't been doing that. So he played knight to c3. That's a very good move, attacking my queen. Okay, and I can take either pawn. I took the f pawn, which attacks his rook. So he only has one move. If he doesn't move his rook, I'm going to take it. He can't protect his rook. So he played rook g1. And this is one of the this is one of the saddest moments in my chess career, if you can call it a chess career after this move. So again, for children especially, losing is tough because you don't want to lose, but adults don't want to lose either. Nobody wants to lose. The only way to avoid losing is to never play chess again. But don't do that. You got to play chess. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Occasionally it's a draw. But the more you play, the better you get at chess. And this was one of the quickest games I've ever lost because I made a really bad move here. One of the worst moves I've ever made. And one of the good and bad things about chess is one move can ruin everything. If you play other sports like basketball, baseball, football, basically any sport, one bad move doesn't ruin everything. Let's say you're playing football and your team's up 49-0, okay? Well, if you make a blunder and give the other team a touchdown, you're still up 49-7. If you're playing basketball and your team's up 100-60 and there's a minute left of the game, you can make a lot of blunders and you're still going to win. However, this is chess. In chess, one blunder can take a good position to a losing position, sometimes really losing. The chess engine says I should play queen h5, attacking two of his pawns. Okay, and then it says black has the advantage. It prefers black's position. Instead, I made one of the worst moves I've ever made in my life. I castled queenside. Now, castling in itself isn't bad, but unfortunately, my queen on f3, which I've already moved a couple of times, and it's deep into his territory, it can't escape anymore. That's why I should have played queen h5 on the previous move, so my queen has a lot of squares. When your pieces move really far away and they have no retreat squares, sometimes you lose them. Happens. Okay, and so castles was a really big blunder. And let me tell you what I was thinking. I was thinking he'll play bishop g2 attacking my queen, and I'll play queen g4 pinning his bishop. So if he moves his bishop, I'll take his rook. That's what I was thinking. And the chess engine says this is okay for black. Okay, that's what I thought would happen. And he picked up his bishop, and I was like, all right, he's going to play bishop g2. And he played bishop e2. I don't know why I didn't look at that. When somebody can attack your queen and your queen has nowhere to go, that's your mistake. When you move your queen out, your opponent might capture it. That's why you shouldn't move your queen out in the opening. That's very dangerous. Now, we both moved our queen out this opening, but his queen's really safe. His queen has lots of squares to go to, and I can't attack it. My queen could be attacked several ways. Bishop g2, bishop e2, rook g3. So I had to be more careful, but I wasn't careful enough. I guess that's why I wasn't a grandmaster then. Now, this position, there's two safe squares for the queen. If you go to these squares that I'm highlighting, he can just capture my queen. I can't go there. If I retreat backwards, he can take my queen with the pawn. If I retreat on the diagonal, his bishop can obviously take me. So therefore, there's two places I can go where he can't take my queen right away, but it shows why I shouldn't have castled queenside in that position. I can go to h3 and f5. Those squares are safe for the time being. Unfortunately, if I go to either square, he has the same winning move. So let's go to one of them. Do you see what his winning move is? It's the same winning move if I go here. The same move beats me. And the reason it's the same is my king and queen are lined up. They're on the same diagonal. Whether it's this position or this position, they're still on the same diagonal. I wonder which white piece moves diagonally. Oh, yeah, the bishop. So bishop g4 check, forking my king and queen, and when I take his bishop, he takes my queen. That's a sad grandmaster. Luckily, I wasn't a grandmaster then. If I play queen f5, he wins my queen the same way. He pins my queen to my king. So castling queenside was terrible. And after bishop e2, I'm just losing my queen. I'm going to lose my queen for a bishop. Now, again, we've discussed in previous videos, you guys should never give up, because even if you're down a queen, you could win. However, when I'm playing Grandmasters and I lose my queen for nothing, that's not good. Okay, it's a very rare occurrence. I can't really show you another game I played that I know of in the last 25 years where I'm like, here's my queen. If I did that, I wouldn't be a Grandmaster. So here I'm losing my queen and it's only move 10. Most people don't give up on move 10 even when they lose their queen because they don't want people to say, aha, you lost on move 10. Okay, but I don't care about that. I don't want to play for 2 more hours and still lose when I'm going to lose anyway. So here I gave up. So even Grandmasters and stronger players lose, and sometimes they lose quickly when they make a really bad move like I did, losing my queen. Well, let's hope you guys never lose your queen, but when you do move your queen out, it's risky. Make sure you have some retreating squares, and when your opponent moves their queen out too early, you can try to punish them by trapping and capturing their queen. That would be good, wouldn't it? I think so. Anyway, that was a terrible game for me, but it was a long time ago. I think it was 27 years ago. Someday I'll forget about it. This is Grandmaster Ben Finegold for Kid Chess. Bye, everybody.